So that's just a few ideas for covers if you want one, but you really don't need one. A cover for this is a want, not a need. I just draw the weather with my little Zebra Sensations brush pen. That kind of just adds a little bit of color, a little bit of art without going overboard. Hello everyone, welcome. Today I'd like to go back to basics and talk about a functional planner that can last 3 years. It could last 1 or 2 if you want more pages for notes, but the layout that I'm going to show you today will last 3 years in one notebook. We are going to talk about the book that I suggest, some tools that make it easier, some covers and whether you need them or not. And we'll talk about things like stickers, because who doesn't love stickers in their planner? But then I'm going to go into a deep dive and actually show you how to draw the pages, and we'll do it step by step together. I will, as per usual, put links in the description to everything I talk about in case you'd like to grab something for yourself or a gift for someone else. And I will also put timestamps in the first pinned comment in case you'd like to jump back and forth between the tools and the steps. Okay, so brief overview here. We're using a Stalogy 365 A5 size notebook, which has 368 pages. Within those pages, we're going to have a title page, 20 pages that will be used for an annual overview and monthly tracking. Then we'll have the meat of it, 312 pages for weekly spreads. And then the last 35 pages will be used for lists. So this is going to be like your functional brain. And then you might choose to carry a separate notebook that you would use for journaling. Doesn't matter what that other journal is, this is going to be the functional piece that keeps you on track for 3 years. All right, so what do we need? Let's talk about supplies. So first of all, we have the notebook, like I said, Stalogy 365 A5 size. These come in multiple colors. You can get a pretty robin's egg blue, there's a yellow, there's a red. This is the little black dress of Stalogy's, just a plain black cover. Occasionally they also have limited edition colors. Inside, most of the time in a Stalogy, you're going to find a square grid, and that's the one that I prefer. My personal brain does not get along with the dot grid. I've tried it in every kind of notebook, and I do not like dot grids. My brain just needs that square. And if you're the kind of person who likes a total blank slate, you could use a blank notebook. But just for ease, simplicity, telling you, hey, go buy this, they're almost always in stock, they're easy to grab, they're relatively inexpensive, just get the squared. So it has 34 spaces across, 34 squares. And then from top to bottom, it has 48 squares. So 34 by 48. Now up here in the top right corner, you're gonna see some lettering and numbers, and in my opinion, you can completely ignore them. Stalogy has this idea that, I don't even know if you can see this. Like even with the naked eye, it's very hard to see. It says January, February, March, etc., Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc., 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. And their idea was that you could take like a highlighter or a pen and you could mark February, Wednesday, the 12th, or something like that. I do not know anyone who actually uses this function in a Stalogy. The vast majority of us completely ignore it. I actually had somebody in the comments very recently said they didn't even realize it was there until I pointed it out. So just ignore that. All right, that's not going to be part of our function today. We are just going to take the nice square grid, 368 pages, and turn them into a bullet journal and planner. Do you need a cover for your Stalogy? I don't know. I have used them without additional covers, and they are absolutely fine. The covers are really nice quality. They kind of feel like the cover on a softcover moleskin, or moleskina, or moleskine, or however you'd like to pronounce it is fine with me. But anyway, so a moleskin has that kind of cover where it's almost like pleathery, but it feels good. It doesn't feel cheap in any way. And it's the kind of thing where you could dribble a little bit of water on it and brush it right off. It doesn't have any markings other than a little bit of gold here that has the logo, and it says what should have been is, standard and technology, stationery, Stalogy. It's just kind of their mark right here. But otherwise there are no marks except where I got it dirty. So they'll hold up. The binding is impeccable on Stalogies. You can throw these into a tote bag, you can kind of manhandle them, and they are not going to fall apart. However, a lot of us like the convenience of having a cover for a couple of reasons. So you could try something like, this is a Case Elegance cover. It has some stiffness to it. There's a board in here that's covered. It has a couple of pockets, pocket here. Depending on the size of your phone, you might even get your phone in here. It has a pen loop. And what I like about the Case Elegance option, they have a brown and a black, is that I can put it in folio style like this. I can put a pen in it, I can close this, and when I'm sitting in a meeting and I write on my lap, this cover has some stability, and that way I can write easier just sitting on my lap if I don't have a tabletop surface handy. Also, if I'm doing my planning in bed and I have them like on my knees, or I'm in a recliner or something like that. So it helps you be flexible in where you write with your Stalogy. If you use a Case Elegance A5, like I said, there's brown and black. This brown is gonna look weird on the camera. I don't know why. It always takes on this green tone on the screen, but it isn't, I promise. It's brown. And then the black is just a really nice black pebble. Very tasteful, very clean. You open it up and it has almost like a fabric, like a herringbone in here. Okay, another option, if you want to go a vegan route, you could get a Kokuyo systemic. I have used one in the past. I actually gave mine to my mom, so I can't show it to you today. They have a couple of color options. It adds a little stability as well. Another option, which comes in lots of different colors, is a Moterm. This is a Moterm A5 size, and you have pocket, 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 pocket for credit cards or stickers or whatever you want to put in here. There's a deeper pocket here, two folio pockets here. On the other side, two folio pockets, a pen loop, and then this opens up for an even bigger pocket in the back, and you have two bookmarks. So these are pretty fantastic covers. They come in a croc style and also in a pebble style. I will put a link to all of these in the description and you can go grab them. I got my Moterm years ago. I've seen reviews that are kind of, you know, hit or miss. Some people just absolutely love them and some people don't. But if you get them through Amazon Prime, they're fairly easy to return if you haven't used it. So it might be worth a try. Moterm A5. You can also get into the Traveler's Notebook world. This is an A5 Traveler's Notebook, which I had made for me by Apple Pig. The guy's name is Ting. He's amazing. I'll put a link to his shop in the description. But what I have done sometimes, if I want to put an A5 book in here by itself, is I put some cardboard in the front and the back in the folio pockets. And then I pop in my notebook like this. And what happens is that cardboard gives me that stiff writing surface so that I can write on my lap. And the way that Ting has designed this particular one, it opens up and I have card pockets so I can turn this into a wallet. And then back here, more card pockets and a little stash where, like, I like to put a ruler in here to keep that handy. So that's an option, is something like this, either folio style or A5 style. Many different companies out there offer similar things. But if you don't want to go the route of ordering something custom, you can go on Amazon, and this is from September Leather or Newestor. You'll see them listed both ways. This has a reinforced spine. It is a traveler's notebook, but it can also be used folio style. And it has a couple of card pockets here and then a folio pocket. Another folio pocket over here and a pen loop. And you can put, you know, like a Stalogy on a band, and you could have something like a Newestor 1917 as your journaling piece, and it could go in here on another band, and then it closes like this. Okay, so that's just a few ideas for covers if you want one, but you really, really, really don't need one. A cover for this is a want, not a need. All right, what about pens, markers, that kind of thing? So Stalogy paper is what I consider to be forgiving. It dries much faster than Tomoe River paper or moleskin paper, and you can get away with using gel pens if you just give them a couple of seconds to dry. So the ones that I use most when I use Stalogy notebooks, my kind of mainstay pen is a Uniball Signo RT 1.5. So Uniball Signo comes in a lot of different styles. This one is called the RT1. The RT stands for retractable. And what's cool about it is that, you know, you pop the point out here, and this grip goes all the way from the tip of the pen about halfway up the barrel. It's a little bit cushioned, and there are no cut marks. There's no design. There's no like weird kind of grip pattern. It's all smooth, and your fingers can rest anywhere along here. So if you're the kind of person who bears down on your pen and writes like this, it'll be comfortable. If you're the kind of person who holds your pen like this, it'll still be comfortable. It's very, very versatile. They come in black. They also come in colors. They come in 0.28, 0.38, and 0.5, and you can get refills on Amazon pretty easily. So I'll put a link to all that good stuff. But I like using a Uniball Signo in my Stalogy. When I do titles, as you'll see later, I like to use a Zebra Sensations brush pen. I tend to mention these in all my videos because I like them so much. They don't pay me for this. I just really like the Zebra Sensations brush pen. They're black, they're water resistant once they're fully dry, and they have a really nice stable tip that is very easy to use for beginners. So if you're starting brush lettering, this is easy to control. It doesn't get away from you. So I like these a lot. Okay, if you are going to be doing any kind of sketching and then painting, like line and wash watercolor in your planner, then I like fine liners. This is a Tombow mono drawing pen set, 01, 03, and 05 size. And these are fantastic. They dry immediately, absolutely immediately. So I can sketch whatever I want on that day, and I can immediately start painting, and it will not reactivate with the paint. These are very similar to something that you might have heard of called a Sakura Pigma Micron, which is probably the most famous fine liner pen like this. But I find that the Tombow mono drawing pens have tips that hold up stronger and longer than the Sakura Pigma. And you can grab these on Amazon. There's a link in the description. If you find that there's a size that you really like, you find that you're always using the 03. You don't have to get the whole package again. You can order individual 03s or 05s or 01s or whatever suits you. Okay, then for highlighting, this is a Zebra mild liner brush. I really like the brush function because I can make that highlight as big or small as I want, and I can also write with these, and I can use them for light coloring. So again, Zebra mild liner brush. There's also a fine point on the end. I don't use the fine point that often, mostly use the brush, but these will not bleed through the Stalogy paper. And then this is a Faber Castell Pitt artist pen, brush style. And these are great when you want more bold color than the Zebra mild liners will get you. But because they're pigment based, and water resistant. They do not bleed through the Stalogy paper. So those are the pens that I use. I also like to use a pencil, as you will see, for drawing out kind of my functional boxes. And for that, I like to use Papermate Sharp Writer pencils. This is just a good old-fashioned #2 pencil in that like twisty form. They last forever. So Papermate Sharp Writer. And then, you know, we all make mistakes. So I like having a Tombow mono correction tape handy. This comes out exactly the same color as the Stalogy paper, so you can barely see that you have used it. So Tombow mono correction tape, just the good old-fashioned original. They've been making these for decades and they're not broken, so they haven't fixed them. They're perfect. And stickers, I don't think you can go wrong with these Paper House Life Organized seasonal sticker books. It's really the only thing I need to turn my planner into something a little bit prettier without going overboard. I like to have a minimalist look to my planner. This is functional. I am putting in grocery lists. I'm putting in people and places and things and stuff I gotta remember. It is functional, but occasionally you like to dress it up a little bit. And this sticker book lets you do that all year in, you know, one fell swoop. So 30 sheets. These are watercolor illustration based, and some of them have some foil added for a little splash, but it covers every month and every season and every holiday. So you get spring and winter and fall, and there's tons of like Halloween stickers and lots of Christmas stickers, pumpkin spice and everything nice, summer. You can see I've already used this one a little bit, so there's some stickers missing. And then in the back, they give you some functional stickers that you can use for tracking. And they also give you some extra occasion stickers like birthdays and parties. And then, like I said, all the months and all the holidays. So definitely the best sticker book that I have ever used, and it sticks well on the Stalogy paper. All right, and finally, another tool that is really useful, almost necessary, is a good quality ruler. If I can find this ruler, I will put a link to it, but I bought it like 20 years ago, so I don't know if they make the same one. But I really like having a ruler with a handle. Even though I already have the lines to go by, this just really helps me get a good grip as I draw, so I can keep that completely stable. You could use something like a T-square as well, but I just find these to be pretty indestructible, good quality. It has metric system and also inches. So if I can find it, I'll put a link, but look for something like this, okay? All right, so that's everything you need. What are we gonna do with it? So let's talk about the layout here. So we open our Stalogy, and we are going to, for now, skip the end paper. That's this gray page that is a little bit stiffer. And you can certainly decorate this. You can use it for maybe something that you use a lot. Like I have in the past taken my printer and made a list of the hours of the places that I go the most and their phone numbers. And that way I can quickly look at what are the post office hours, what are the UPS store hours, what are the grocery hours, and I can just quickly reference that. This is a good spot to reference things that you're gonna use all the time. Another thing you can do with it is just make it pretty. You could make a whole collage. You could make kind of like a dream board for those 3 years, or you can just leave it blank. Doesn't matter. But right now we're gonna skip the end page. And then we also have this first page that is glued right here to the ends. And what I typically end up doing is after I have finished the journal, the notebook, I go back and I take this first page and I write the dates that I used it. Sometimes I'll do something decorative with it, but I usually leave that for the end. And then we're going to start on what I'm going to call page 1. So I am going to move this, and I'm going to get a Stalogy that I use just for playing around. The honest to goodness truth is that I messed up. This was a couple of years ago. I got the idea to do a layout that I had never tried before, and I made like 30 pages with that layout, and I hated it. And I ripped it out. Look at this. Oh, it's sacrilegious. Look. Oh, don't look. So I use this when I just want to do tutorials and samples and test the paper, stuff like that. So let's just pick a page here, and we're going to pretend that this is your first spread. I like to make my first spread some kind of an annual overview. And if those are just those little boxes that go January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, and they just have, you know, the little at a glance, right? You can get these many different ways. You could draw your own if you have the patience, which I don't have. You could go to Etsy, and I'll put a link to what I would search for on Etsy if you want to get some annual overview pages that are printable and you just pop it out, glue it in. You can also go to Canva, and there are a lot of templates for calendars. So I'll put a link to Canva as well. So however you do it, I would recommend doing some kind of an overview calendar here for the 3 years. Okay? But then we get into the part where we're going to actually draw it ourselves. So this would be in yours, kind of page 3, page 4. And I am going to take my ruler, I'm going to take my pencil. I like to do these lines in pencil, not in pen. And I'm going to count over, there are 34 boxes. I'm going to count over halfway. So I'm going to count 17 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Then I am going to line up my ruler after box number 17, and I am going to draw a line like that. Okay, so that's the really great benefit of the square grid that's there. You can see that it kind of fades into the background once you start using the pages, but it's there for you when you need a guide to make a nice straight line without having to measure the top and the bottom or use a T-square. That line is right there for you to line up. So we're going to do the same thing on the second side of the spread. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Now, you can do all that counting every time, or you can look up here to where the January, Monday, and 1 start, and that is the line. All right, so 17 boxes over. We're splitting each of these in half. What I use this for is health tracking. This is my monthly at-a-glance health tracking. You can also use it for forward planning. You can use it for work notes. You can use it for marking off vacations. You can use it for having a word that you focus on every day. If you're doing Bible journaling, you could assign yourself verses to read every day. You could use it to mark birthdays and anniversaries and things like that. Doesn't matter what you want to use it for, but here's how I set it up. So I'm doing mine January, February, March, April, etc. So I'm going to write up here at the top, January, and this is 2023. February, March, April. Okay. Then there are 48 boxes from top to bottom. We only need 31 at most. So I am going to start on the first one, and I'm going to write a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to go all the way down like that. I'm going to do the same thing February, March, April. Just keep repeating. Each line is going to get a date. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on. So January 31, February, depending on the year, 28 or 29, March 31, April 30. Then I'm going to figure out what January 1st is, what the day of the week is. So look at my little planner here that I have handy. And January 1st this year is, or for 2023, is a Sunday. So I'm going to write an S, U, and then an M, a T, a W, TH, F, SA, SU, M, T, and so on. So it's going to go first Sunday, second Monday, third Tuesday, fourth Wednesday, fifth Thursday, sixth Friday, seventh Saturday, eighth Sunday, ninth Monday, 10th Tuesday, and so on. I'm just going to fill the entire month, go to the next month, fill the entire month, go to the next month, fill the entire month, and I'm going to do that for 3 years, and so on. And I'm going to fill these pages. So technically that's pages 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12, 13 and 14, 15 and 16, 17 and 18, 19 and 20. Okay? So 3 years worth of 4 months per spread. And then the way that I typically use these as the months go by is, let's say I'm recording my period. So I mark the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, however long it lasts. I circle the number. Then each day I think about what my symptoms were, if I had any. So I have some health stuff going on, and I might need to write, for example, right knee. Would help if I could spell. Okay, good example of where, oops, I made a mistake, so I'm going to use the Tombow mono correction tape to cover that up. And right knee, just meaning that my right knee hurt that day. Maybe on this day I had like crushing fatigue, so extreme fatigue. Let's say I had an allergy attack this day. All right, allergy. And depending on the day, sometimes I'll go like days and days and days with no symptoms at all, which is fantastic. Other days I have a lot of symptoms, and so I have a little code. Like I know that E means extreme fatigue. I know that A means allergies. I know that C means cramps. So I also tend to write my temperature if I have a low-grade fever that day. So I might write 99.8, and the next day 99.4, etc. So each day I have plenty of room here to mark down what my symptoms were. And then, like I said, we're only going to be using up to 31 spaces. So I have this area here at the bottom of each month where I can kind of look back and tally. And I can say I had 3 migraines, and I had a fever 6 days, you know. So that way, when I go to the doctor, I can just pull this out and say, look at the trends. And that has really helped me to do this over the years, because I've been able to see that my symptoms are worse in June, July, and August, and they're also worse in January and February for some reason. And so I can start to see, you know, tracking. All right, so that way health symptoms are always handy. But again, you don't have to use it for health. You could put in birthdays and anniversaries, so you always have them at quick glance. You could use them for kind of forward planning. Like I said, you could use them as like, this is your work planner part, and then maybe the weekly planner you use for personal. There are so many ways to use this spread, all right? But essentially we're going to take up like the first 20 pages doing that. All right, so after we have finished those monthly at-a-glance spreads for tracking whatever you're going to track, we're going to move on to the bulk of the planner, which is the weekly layout. All right, So doing some architecture here, drafting. First we're going to skip the first box, and then after every 8 squares we're going to draw a line. So skip the first one and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, draw a line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, draw a line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, draw a line. We're going to take our ruler and match it up to the grid that is already there and draw that line. Again, with pencil, okay? So same thing, line that up, draw the line it up to the grid, draw the line. We're going to do the same thing on the right side. We're going to skip the first line. This is going to allow us to have a little bit of a margin on the left and the right. So skip the first line, skip the first box, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whoops. You can also mess up counting and have to start again. Skip the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Draw a line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Draw a line. You can check yourself. If you get to the second one and it matches that January Monday 1, you've done it right. Do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sounds like we're in aerobics class. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Take a breather. All right, the last line, I don't usually draw, by the way. So draw 1 and 2 and 3. And then I usually leave this one. All right. So this is how I like to set up my weekly. You can do it however you want. If you find that you prefer it to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, notes, you can do that. Or you can flip-flop it. Put the notes first and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I like to have my notes on the left. So I'm going to start this. I'm going to say, let's see, let's start. The first full week is January. And 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's the 2nd through the 8th. So then I go Monday is the 2nd, Tuesday 3rd, Wednesday 4th, Thursday 5th, Friday 6th, Saturday 7th, Sunday 8th. Okay? Over here on the left in this empty space, I can do so many different things. I can put a little check-off list of things that I need to do. So I could have little square boxes like this, and I could say library books, grocery, buy stamps, and remember to drink more water each day. So that could be my little to-do list. Then, as I finish each thing, check off or not. As I sit down on Sunday evening to review the week, I can look at that to-do list and see whether I need to carry anything over to the following week. I could also use this to kind of decorate. I could put some kind of mantra for the week. Love all, trust a few, do wrong to none, and there are commas in there, and that is William Shakespeare. So I could use it to put some lettering and kind of boost my week. I could use it with my sticker book, and I could put something seasonal and put stickers over here in this column. I could do some kind of a tracker, and I could say water, MTWTHSASU, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Of course I skipped Friday. Use a little bit of that Tombow mono correction tape. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then that way I could check off drank water Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because those grids are already there. You don't need a stamp or anything like that. You can just write in, you know, your water or your exercise or whatever you're tracking. So lots of different ways to use this area. Then for the week itself, I typically leave the first couple of squares empty, and then as the day comes, I usually draw the weather. So Monday cloudy, Tuesday partly cloudy with some sunshine. Wednesday, let's say it was cloudy and we had some rain. Thursday, we had a weird January thunderstorm. Friday, it was super windy. Saturday, the sun came back out. And Sunday, let's say partly cloudy again. So each evening, as I'm kind of checking whether I did the things I need to do and whether I went to my appointments and I fill in what else I did, I just draw the weather with my little Zebra Sensations brush pen. I have in the past, at the end of the week, sat down and actually painted. Then I would make the clouds gray and the sunshine yellow and some blue for the water, a little yellow for the lightning. If I have time, sometimes I actually really enjoy doing that, but I don't have to. This is just a quick glance. Let's say it snows. How about here on this Monday the 2nd? I'll write snowed and how many inches. I do occasionally go into AccuWeather's monthly report, and I will go backwards and write what the high was that day. So 36, 42, 23, 5. Oh, that was a bad day. 5 degrees and lightning. Has that ever happened? Back up to 32, 36, 42. And that just kind of helps me go back and look. And I have found that it has been very useful to track the weather because of migraines. Because sometimes I will take the time to look back at that monthly overview and I will see the days that I had migraines. And then I can go into my planner and look and see, well, yeah, it made sense. We had storms that day. So the barometer was off. So that caused the migraine. So just another reason, you know, it kind of gives some character to your planner. You're adding a little bit of drawing. If you paint it, you're adding a little bit of color. But also it can be useful to go back and look. Okay, so then usually the first couple of lines after the weather, I end up writing things that have to be done on that day. Like it is a non-negotiable that on the 6th, I have to go to the bank. It is a non-negotiable that on the 4th, I have to mail my Patreon goodies. So anything that I have to do, like a to-do list that has to be on that date, I will write that in big, bold lettering with my Zebra Sensations brush pen. And then for like this part, the bulk of it here, that's where I put my plans. So let's say Tuesday the 3rd at 7, there's a basketball game and I'll put like where it is. Let's say on Thursday the 5th, I have a doctor's appointment and I would put her name there. Let's say something else I need to do. Okay, so the art museum tour is Saturday at noon. So I write in my plans with that Uniball Signo pen, always in black. I just like writing in black, and then I decorate with color. So now the day has happened. So Monday, January 2nd happened. It snowed 2 inches. It was mostly cloudy. It got up to 36 degrees. I didn't have any plans, but I posted one video to YouTube, and I had a 2-hour phone call with Annie, one of my very best friends from high school. Annie and I will have these catch-up phone calls like once a month, once every other month, and we really need to set a timer to shut each other up because we talk so much for so long. So had a nice 2-hour phone call with Annie. You know, maybe I baked cherry pie, and it was awesome. I gave it an A+. Okay, so that goes here. Then I have some personal notes that I track in the bottom area, but normally I will write what I actually did. So let's say Wednesday the 4th, I went to Kroger. I took returns to the UPS store. I stopped at the post office, and I stopped at the library. Those are all in my neighborhood, but let's say on Friday, I was so happy with my doctor's appointment that Friday I decided to treat myself, and let's say I went to Cincinnati. Which is kind of a drive, and I went to, where did I go? IKEA and Jungle Gyms. If you are from Ohio, you know about Jungle Gyms. It is awesome. All right, so I treated myself to Jungle Gyms, and in that case, I have a little code system. Whenever I go outside my general area, I put the name of the place I went and I underline it with a broad stroke with this Faber Castell Pitt Artist pen. This one is Indanthrene blue, but it doesn't matter what colors you choose. But it's a brush pen, and you can get a nice bold stroke like that. And because it is pigment based, it will not bleed through. You'll have a little bit of ghosting, but that's fine. All right, the other thing that I track is working out. So let's say on Tuesday I went to the gym, say I swam laps, and I also used the therapy pool. So mark down what I actually did, circle it. Let's say after I went to the doctor on Thursday, I went to hike. Oh, no, it was 5 degrees. Whew, I did not hike on that day. Let's say I hiked on Sunday. All right, so I will write hike, and I will mark where I hiked, you know, whatever the park was called, and how long. Let's see, did 2 miles. And then kind of adding some color, but also making it easy to see different things as I'm looking back for recording purposes. Every time I exercise and I circle it like that, then I take this green Faber Castell Pitt Artist pen and I go like this. And that way, as I look back at page after page after page, I can clearly see workouts are green, drove somewhere farther away, blue. Let's say on Friday evening, they had live music at the coffee house. Then whenever I hear, this is just a thing I do, everybody has their own little quirks, but whenever I get to enjoy live music, I put a musical note like that, and it's just a habit. I just put purple like this. And then as I look through my planner over the years, I can point out quickly, like every time I saw live music, it's that purple musical note. Okay. The other thing, like I said, stickers can really add to this. So let's say this was kind of a light week and this is all I did. And I have some blank areas. Now here I've written my little personal notes down at the bottom. You could do micro journaling, you could do tracking, whatever you want to do at the bottom, but I have some personal notes that I put in. But I've got like blank space here, blank space here, blank space here. And so I will look through and I will find something that is appropriate for like the weather that week. You know, it's January, it snowed that week, it didn't get warm enough to melt, so we had snow on the ground the whole time. And so like I'll take this little tree and pop it there like this. And the day that it snowed, I'll put a little snowflake like this. And then that kind of just adds a little bit of color, a little bit of art without going overboard. It's still a functional planner, but it looks pretty. I'm taking this off so that I can actually use it. You can get away with peeling these up within like a couple seconds. If I had waited much longer than that, it would have been stuck forever. All right, so we've done our weekly. Now we're going to continue this drawing and writing the dates, in this case for 3 years, because I want this to be a 3-year continuous bullet journal and functional planner. You could only do it for 2 years. You could only do it for 1 year. It doesn't matter how long you make yours. But if you do it for 3 years, you're going to be repeating this. You'll have 156 spreads, okay? 156 spreads, that's going to take up 312 pages. You're gonna say, oh no, I am not sitting there doing all that. I'm just gonna go buy a planner. Well, you can pace yourself. You don't have to sit down and do the entire thing in one night. You know, make it a to-do list thing in the fall and say, I'm going to start setting up my planner, and every Friday I'm going to draw out like 3 months worth. Or you can say, you know what, I might change this up as I go. I'm only going to draw 6 months at a time. And that makes it a little bit more achievable than trying to do the whole thing all at once. But yeah, if you do this as a 3-year planner journal, you're going to end up with 156 spreads, 312 pages. All right, so I get to the end. Let's say I've drawn all those. I am going to have, if I've done it correctly for 3 years, I'm going to have roughly 30 pages left at the end. How am I going to use those 30 pages? Well, I could use them as just scratch paper. You know, it's kind of nice to just have some scratch paper in your planner so that you want to do some quick long division, or you want to get a pen started, and so you kind of start drawing it. There's lots of things that you could do with this blank space at the end, but I am going to make it my list book section. And this has become an invaluable resource for me. When I use a traveler's notebook, which I'm in right now, I always have this insert in the front, which is for lists. And it's a gridded notebook. I add things like the hashtags that I use because that's work specific. But I also have like movies and series that I've watched or I'm going to watch, and I give them a grade, books, etc. So let me run you through the list pages that I put in any planner that I use. So I'll show you how I set it up, and then we'll do all of them, or I'll list all of them. So I will write at the top what the subject is, in this case, automotive. Again, I'm doing all my titles with this Zebra Sensations brush pen. Okay, so automotive. Now, I'm not too persnickety about this. If you want it to be perfectly lined up, you could draw columns. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to show you how for automotive, let's say on 10, 18, 22, I took the car to Subaru. I had an oil change and tire rotation, and it cost, you know, $93, whatever it was. So I just record everything that has to do with the car. So service, I would also put things like 10, 20, 22, renewed, registration, online, that was $56, and it expires 10, 20, 23. So I'll put notes like that. And if, like I said, if you want it to be really neat and tidy, you can draw yourself some columns depending on whatever the subject is. I don't tend to get that persnickety about it. I just make sure everything is written down. So these are the lists that I would have if I had about 30 pages to play with at the end here. I would have automotive. I would have beauty. And in that space, I would write, like, basically every time I went to the salon, what she did and how much she charged. Then I have books. And I usually have a column for a grade after I've finished it. I have the title of the book, I have the author, and I have whether I listened to it as an audiobook or if I read the book. And I record those things, and I put in not just books that I have read, but if someone suggests a book, I'll write it in there, and then after I've actually checked it out and read it, then I put a grade next to it. Financial. And financial for me means things like when I file my sales tax, which I have to do twice a year, I mark down, you know, the date that I did it. When I file my income taxes, I mark down the date that I did it. Any kind of big like financial thing that I have to process and I want to remember what date I did that, I write on the financial page. I have happy mail, sent, and I have happy mail, received. So sent, like each time I send out Patreon, I mark down the date that I took it to the post office. If I mail someone a gift, I will mark the date and what I sent them. If I send somebody a letter, etc. So anything that goes in the mail that is for fun, for friends, for Patreon, that goes there. And then same with happy mail received. You know, somebody sends me a birthday card, I write that down. All right, then we have healthcare. And I should note that like automotive, I might only need over the course of, you know, 2 or 3 years, just 1 or 2 pages. Beauty, same thing. Books, I might give myself like 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. It's really going to be up to you how much you need each section. So for healthcare, I personally need usually about 4 pages. So I'll go healthcare, 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 healthcare. And I write down the date that I went to the appointment, who the appointment was with, and what was discussed and what was prescribed if necessary. Okay, then I have one called Last Time I. And this is a tracker where I put last time I had a migraine, and I write which side it was on and what caused it. And then I have last time I changed the candle batteries, that kind of stuff. It's just nice to have a record to look back so I don't have to go flipping through my planner pages. Then I have movies and series. This works exactly the way the book section does. I have an area to the left for a grade, which I leave blank if it's just been suggested to me. I have the movie title, then I have who the main star is, just to jog my memory, and then I have whatever channel or app it's on. So if it's a Hulu original, I write Hulu. If I can get it on Prime, I write that. And then I have quotes. And these are just for those quotes that come along the way. Like, I was watching Yellowstone the other night. Somebody said something totally just mind-blowing. And sometimes I'll text it to myself, and then when I have time, I'll go back through and find those and write them in the quotes section. I also have a section called Recommended. And this is for whether you're like having coffee with a friend and she says, oh, you absolutely have to try, oh, I don't know, Numi Rubus chai tea. And so I will write that in the recommended section, and then actually after I have tried it, I will put a check mark by it, and then I'll remember to thank that person for suggesting it. Also, if you're on like your neighborhood Facebook board and somebody recommends a handyman, instead of having to go back through Facebook and try to find that again, I can write that in the recommended section. Somebody goes to a great new restaurant and tells you about it, I'll write that. So recommended. And then this is my absolute favorite list. It's called Wins to Savor. And for over 3 years, I've given myself 4 pages for that. So it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Wins to savor is like when you come home at night and that day has just been amazing. There has been something that day that has totally moved you that doesn't happen on a random Tuesday. Or an accomplishment. You win an award. You know, you have like a really great conversation with somebody that's life-changing. So wins to savor. And then at the end of that period, I can just look back. If I'm having a bad day, I can look at those really bright, happy spots that have happened over the last couple of months and years. And it's a good uplifting thing to do. So automotive, beauty, books, financial, happy mail sent and received, healthcare, last time movies and series, recommended, and then check off that I've watched it and I give it a grade. Quotes, recommendations and suggestions from other people, and wins to savor. All right, and that would take up, approximately 30 pages depending on how I divide those up. And that's it. 3 years in one Stalogy 365 notebook. I hope that something in here has been helpful. If it has, please click like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Again, if you'd like to support this channel, you can go to patreon.com/keylimeinc and join me there. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being into planning and journaling. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.